Jobs growth is improving as Australia continues its pandemic recovery, but economists warn it doesn't guarantee higher wages for workers. Data from the Bureau of Statistics shows that payroll jobs increased by 8% last month. It's a similar rate of growth to a year earlier before governments around Australia imposed COVID shutdowns. In the US, they're facing a similar situation, but will business be willing to pay workers more money as growth continues? Joining me live now is RSM US Chief Economist Joseph Brusuelas. Thanks so much for your time. This is something the governments right around the world is going to have to contend with. What's the trade-off, Joseph?
Well, I think the trade-off is that firms are likely to have to accept somewhat thinner profit margins as we proceed into what I'm calling a K-shaped recovery all around the Anglo-American economies. So if you think about a K-shaped economy in the upper path, that's where your digitally literate workers are. And right now, the game is on. You're going to see poaching of those workers as they really demand higher premiums to stay on the job. Not just is recruitment going to be a problem, but retention. Now, down in the lower path, where there's still, unfortunately, too many workers unemployed across those economies, their reservation price for re-entering the workforce has gone up during the pandemic. So firms in general, but large firms in particular, are really going to face a challenge here as we enter recovery.
Yeah, and I think there's a PR challenge as well. After the governments have bailed out so many workers and businesses, in Australia we had JobKeeper, in the United Kingdom we saw the governments fund the following of many employees. In the United States we saw trillions of dollars worth of stimulus. Is there a kind of unspoken accord between business and employees that the government might be able to enforce, if you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a good bumper sticker solution, but I don't
Yeah,
really
good.
think that's the case, right? No, people are going to go back to work. They have their professional lives. You didn't do all those years at university just to stay home and live the not so good life while you're not working. I mean, people are going to come back, but they're going to come back and expect different terms. For example, I think a lot of firms are thinking about workplace flexibility now. During the pandemic, we conducted a giant experiment all over the world to see what tasks could be done remotely. Well, once firms know that, right, and they've identified who's good at it, who can thrive, who can collaborate, prestige and privilege are going to flow to those digitally literate workers. Things are going to change. The pre-pandemic status quo is just not going to return.
What happens now? What has the pandemic done in terms of AI and the need for manufacturing workers? Has it perhaps expedited where we were heading anyway?
So, that's a great question. As we talk to our clients all over the world, here's what we're hearing. For the first time, those middle market clients, the ones who really make up the heart and soul of what we call in the US Main Street, or what you might call in Australia, the real economy. They're going to pull forward a decade's worth of investment in productivity enhancing intellectual property, software, and equipment. That means the time of artificial intelligence and machine learning is upon us. Firms are going to have options. Some of them, especially the big ones, who are much more advanced and much further along the road, they might opt to substitute technology for labor. And it's that long-term technological unemployment that we've all talked about for years. Well, unfortunately, that's here. That's going to require a different policy solution from all of the governments. Here in the United States, we're going to put forward billions of dollars to retrain those bartenders and those service workers who are going to have to learn how to code and work in a more advanced, more sophisticated technological environment.
Yep, it'll be fascinating to watch, and the world has certainly changed a lot in the last 12 months. Economist Joseph Brusuelas, we appreciate your time.
Anytime.